Good morning. How you guys doing? Let's take a ride, eh? So, oh my god, love-hate relationship. Right? Actually, I've got a handful of things on my mind. This is kind of related too, because it's also about relation. I'm going to go through a couple of things. Um, so, yeah. So, Donald Trump on Truth Social, which I saw then repeated on Facebook by somebody, posted a medical science video overviewing the endocannabinoid system. I'm like, oh my fucking god, yeah, yes, yeah, like, I can affirm to you that that's the real medical science of the endocannabinoid system. The President of the United States has officially endorsed pot as medicine. Holy shit! That's beautiful. That's fucking beautiful. Right? It's the love-hate relationship. So, I mean, like, is Israel responsible for this? Because if Donald Trump is bending over for Israel, then Israel was never the reason why we don't have weed. Because we always blamed Israel for the drug war. We blame Israel for everything in right-wing conspiracy land. And now in left-wing conspiracy land too. Conservatives have unfortunately become conspiracy theorists playing the game, which is pathetic because now everything is a conspiracy of the Democrat Party, and they can't transcend it, right? I mean, like, they're trying to ward off the globalists, but they can't quite factor the globalists in our system because they don't understand how they're fucking doing the thing with the fucking money, and they won't put any pressure on them to stop with, the fiat currency. People just gonna hear that and they're just gonna fucking, they're worried about market panic and shit like that, which is absurd because you gotta let the conversation boil a little bit and then, like, let there be some sort of, reasonable, like, let a legislature person be like, okay, we're going to look at some bills. So markets start, like, we expect to have a proposal for an economic draft of new money through our treasury system. We're going to print money we're going to go back to printing silver and gold certificates or whatever we're going to fucking do, right? The point is that the US dollar wouldn't be the backbone of the credit and debt system and everything else under the Uniform Commercial Code, right? We'd be also in the process of gutting the UCC or doing other weird things, but we're gonna have to gut the UCC to do it, right? So I don't, so I don't know, I'm not worried about it. I'm thinking about the real world. I'm thinking about the fact that, like, my money is based on my labor, not my income. That's why I really, like, please, IRS, just you want to hold a gun to my head and take my money? I'm giving all my money to the fucking banks and the cost of living where I am, sir. You go ahead and you fucking put a gun to my head and take my money, Mr. Tax. Oh, look at that. I've given it all back to the other people you're taxing. So go get it from them. Get it from them. Right? Now that's fair. That is a capitalist's way of saying, don't tax a person's personal fucking wealth. Donald Trump, let him be fucking rich. Let the taxes come out of what pays Donald Trump, because he sets up corporations to pay himself for his work, such as the Trump Foundation. So you do things like that. Wait, or is the Trump Foundation, whatever? Well, the point is, everybody does this, right? They set up a company, and then they do everything that isn't their personal and private shit through the company, which is easier to track them up. Like, I'm just living my personal life. That's why the IRS is a scam. It only matters if you're fucking, like, whatever. I own one share of Uber that's been sitting there. I don't even fucking think about it, and it's not made me a real fucking dime. I'm pretty sure it hasn't made me a real I don't even fucking look at it. It's just it's the only goddamn thing that exists. I'm just like, it's there. It doesn't really matter if I whatever. I'll just let it sit there. It's just a loss. I don't care. Big fucking deal. I didn't invest my entire fucking wealth and value. I didn't put an entire year of my work into a bunch of stocks. I'm not like whatever. It's like pin money, and I don't even have the pin money. It's just like it's not even pin money, because it's not really. It's whatever. I don't even know. Somebody yells at me about it, I'll be like, okay, all right, look, okay. I got this one share of Uber. I'll sell the share. Dude, I'm all right. I'll be broke. I'm not a man who needs to live in High Castle. I have no idea if that reference is accurate, but I felt like, well, it's a Nazi thing to fucking do, is to fucking tax a man's income, right? That's a good socialist policy, isn't it now? Yeah. The ship of fools, we call our nation. Okay, so let me get back to other things. So anyway, such an acknowledgement in medical health turns many, many things around. This, like, imagine if the next thing that fucking comes out of fucking Truth Social is some fucking endorsement of, like, raw coca leaf. He wants to, listen, in fact, Donald Trump should. If he wants to fucking destroy the cartels, you legalize natural coca leaf. Simple. Fucking simple. Put the coca back in Coca-Cola. It's not cocaine. That's just stuff dumb fucking fucks say. It wasn't I mean, I'm sure somebody maybe put cocaine in there, but look, the intention was the coca leaf. They were making a soda that was an upper like coffee. It was a different, it was just, it was doing with that, like a different kind of upper that isn't caffeine. Now, I mean, and I'm pretty sure, no, that's not good. I'm going to leave the signal on. This box truck in front of me is slow as hell. Alright. 1 second. Anyway, the point is the logic of legalizing cannabis is safer for society for various reasons. It's the same thing with the coca leaf. I would still keep, unless, like, look, I've seen, it was a long time ago. If there is if I'm just ignorant as to the real, like a healthy way that cocaine is made, then, I don't know, that's a different story. However, from what I've seen of how cocaine is made through this harsh chemical process, which involves things like kerosene and whatnot, everything that goes into it, doesn't matter if you've extracted it out, the alchemical change from that compound remains, right? And so there's a natural harm that is inherent in the form that the coca extract takes in this manner, which is unnecessary to get any kind of an effect, because I have seen how you take it naturally, where you just kind of chew the leaf and then eventually you fucking spit it out like it's tobacco or something. I think you just have to chew a lot of it, because typically you see people running around, they'll have like a big bulge in their cheek for, because they're letting the leaf just kind of like chill and like get all like, you're rubbing it on your gum, just like you would with cocaine, right? It's getting absorbed through the membranes in the mouth. As well as whatever you may be swallowing, juices and stuff like that off the leaf. If the leaf is still, I think that they take the leaf when it's fresh. I don't think they dry it. So anyway, so this is part of my love-hate relationship with Donald Trump, because you've got the Israel aspect. You've got the economic aspect to the globalist aspect, and you've got the relationship with Asia, particularly Russia, that are all really troublesome. Because of war issues and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that we have to acknowledge. I think half of the reason why it's going down like this is that you can't just insult the faith by undermining the prophecy for the politics of the day with the way the evangelical mind is cultivated. Right? And the evangelical is, they may not be watching TV either, but they're definitely not watching any part of the internet like that, right? It would be a slow process of deteriorating that culture for the sake of the safety of the rest of us, right? I'm talking about Christians that are living in the Bible instead of the Bible informing their idea of, walking in Christ, right? Informing it, but then still using their own judgment via the divine mind, the very said God gave them, whom we all know via original sin, we know right from wrong. That's the joke. You're beating yourself up about the shame of it all, of having done wrong, and it's just like, you know right from wrong. You're a moral person, and in our younger ignorance, sometimes we do the morally wrong thing because it was justified by another emotion, and you handled it the best way that you fucking could. Now that's what the exception of going to the extremes, right? You know, don't fucking like murder someone who isn't a threat to your fucking life. You know, you get the point. We're talking about the little things. We're talking about the little things. You know, because yeah, there's conditions for forgiveness, right? Certain things are obviously forgivable, but if we're talking about the context of serious, fucking horrendous acts done, not even with fucking forethought obviously, but even like just the unbelievableness that you would go that, how do you go and do that extreme in the heat of any fucking moment? You just didn't retaliate. You went for a weapon to retaliate. You could have just fucking slapped her. It's this kind of, hey, it was under mission control, right? So anyway, this is why I love Bruce McDonald's conclusion that Donald Trump has this divine affliction in which the truth becomes revealed to us by the cacophony of lies that are based on what he has to say in the position of the office. This is what it's like to fight in Galdar, Jormungand. This is Apophis, right? This is if you understand the subtext of what Apophis symbolized for Egyptian politics, effectively, including spiritual politics. Right? That's one of the, like, that's what's kind of cool about Egyptian mythology, is that it's all very much like court. It's like the Osirian court politics is like the entire, like, everything just feels like it's happening in the halls of power in Egyptian mythology, right? You don't get that in Norse mythology because you're only aware of a hall of power whenever a hall is actually mentioned or they mention a thing or all thing. Otherwise, it's all just kind of it's all kind of operating off of the free association principles, natural law, the understanding of the authority of the Jinn region, which I feel more and more strongly I know correctly to be the Norse. I believe that's the Norse higher force. That's the Brahman is the Jinn region. I literally think that's what it is. It doesn't say that the Jinn region is like the progenitor of it all, but in the Voluspa, the Jinn region compels the gods, right? And it's just kind of mitigated to saying it's like the throne or something like that. It's the high spiritual government of the gods or whatever, right? So yeah, no, I mean, like, I think that's all an allegory, because at the end of the day, you're saying it's something that the gods are obedient to, conceptually speaking, and it has almost no personality. That's the higher force doesn't have a personality because it gave all of its personhood to us as the fractals of the all. So that's the Jinn region. Anyway, you're not going to get that from Jackson Crawford, because Jackson Crawford sucks. Period. He sucks. Anyway, now this brings me to another thought about relationships, because I was just talking about the love-hate relationship there, right? The Holy Trinity is kind of this funky relationship in all actuality. Because when you take the highest God. And then you get into the implication that he's a triune God, which that's Odin Villian is the triune of Odin himself. And then you say that that's the only God. Like you're trying to cover all the bases of your relationship with God. That's what the grift of the doctrine of the Holy Trinity is. It's trying to say, when you think about the Almighty, you got to think of Zeus. When you're thinking of the loving presence of the power of God, that's the Holy Spirit. And when you have a personal emanation of the deity, that's your best friend, like your best friend, your brother has come to see you, right? And these become the only three relationships with the divine that we have. So, to me, that's when it became very obvious that one aspect of Holy Trinity principles is that the Holy Spirit's obviously mom. Because holy shit, I'm looking at this now, and this is like a single father, and the iPad is the fucking mother in the relationship. You know, like that's like what it feels like. You know, because the Holy Spirit has no personhood, right? No, that's mom. That's mom, right? And so that's because if you were henotheistic, the original henotheistic, you still worshipped a family. And it would be simple. It would be, you'd have your all father, all mother, you know, so you'd have like a patron god and a matron god. And then the children of that god, typically a boy, sometimes there's a couple of children, and then there may be a daughter. So you've always got that, as well as you've always got the Stygian sisters, which the Stygian sisters, they're always more like the aunties. They show up like the auntie in the story. The three aunts. But in the broader scope, when your paganism is informed by the underlying animism, now all of a sudden your relationship with God is like a relationship with a tree or a mountain. You learn lessons and get even relationship potentially with the deity, via animals, right? An animal does a thing, and which deity is associated with that animal that is most resonant to you, as well as picking up any other context around the animal to make it clearer, if need be, for you, whom has approached you, right? Every time I see crows, and I don't usually see ravens, even though there are ravens in my area. I ask myself, it's just like, is this always Odin? Because Need to know more about the Morrigan, because what if it's the Morrigan? How do I know? I can only really think of Hugin and Un, right? That's a big aspect of just like my thinking, and thinking there's so many crows around here, right? So not every time I see crows is it fucking significant. I have to be paying attention to see if the crows are in a spot that's got the resonance, or am I feeling the resonance with seeing this crow, or is it just fucking crows on a roof and it's just nothing, right? So to me, this is this is one of the reasons why I had to get out of monotheism and henotheism, and why I didn't want to be religious. And this has helped me find that thing, right? I don't consistently need to stress myself fucking out, like when when I hear like a Christian who's sincerely and humbly trying to talk about, Jesus increasing in them, right? It's just like, God, who taught you that you are so incapable of being a good, moral, decent fucking person? Like, is this really that bad? Are you really having that bad of a fucking time? Like, you gotta do that? And the answer is no, you really fucking aren't. The truth of the matter is, I want to park here. Let me get my fucking angles. Sorry. So the guy shows up right there. I'm trying to fucking park backwards, like people don't appreciate when the guy wants to back into a parking spot. That's what the problem is. All right. Here we go. One moment. Uno momento, por favor. There. All right. So, yay, I'm a couple minutes early, which I guess just enough time. Oh, all right. Turn that off. Oof. It's unnecessarily toasty because I was keeping the window defrosted. So, eating cherries and granola, I would say God is more like a tree than a man. Right. Befriended crows and ravens are great. Yes, tactical buddies, absolutely. So, oh my God. There we go. So, yeah, I was just like, that's just no fucking way to live. That's no fucking way to live. It's just like, that's it's just destroying your self-worth. That's the way I see it. It destroys your self-worth. Because you can only find worth in that, and you're letting the whole fucking world project on you, right? It's just, you're grateful you're not evil, but you're still not good enough. And this is the most disgusting thing that I think the human race lives with, is feeling so fucking worthless that it needs the words of Abraham the sacrifice of Jesus and the prophecies of Muhammad. I mean, come the fuck on. This is the psychosis of the world here. And it's just a major reason why I urge people to think like, what is really the relationship with God that you want to have? Right? It's insane that a deity would separate you from it and then punish you for how you want to have a relationship with it after you've been separated from it, right? As in, separated, forgotten who he was, and then he's just like, no, okay, you still, all right, so you've forgotten me in your incarnation, you've been reminded of me, and you're decided to love me, but no, don't love me like that. You gotta love me the true way. Here, I wrote it down in a book because I knew you'd forget. It's just, no, that's not what happened. That's not what fucking happened at all. Right? That's what, that's literally how, like, you look at the fucking origins of the fucking Church of the Mormons with fucking Joseph Smith, and you tell me why people believe the Bible, right? It's they had faith in somebody who was a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser than them, and had several secrets that he didn't want to tell them, and he spoke in riddles to convince you that he was gifted with divine insight, when really he just thought himself incredibly clever. And we have allowed these people to dictate our relationship with ourselves and with God. And that's why you gotta be away from religion. You gotta be away from the book. Just take what you think you know about the deity. Give yourself a goddamn month without the words of the book, without the voice of the priests and the pastors and the whomevers, and just have a relationship with God without it for a month, without changing anything. You're still a Christian. You can still get on your knees and ask for forgiveness for things or whatever. But just live your life for a month without it, and ask yourself, did you need it to remember to be fucking kind? Did you need it to remember to not steal? It's not that fucking hard, right? Sin is hardly the right word for a moral transgression anyway. All right, I'm going to catch you guys later. Bye.